Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the Earth defense vessel Defiant. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. His ship moved slowly through space near the edge of human territory. The stars looked cold and distant. Through the main window. Morrison had been a captain for 15 years. His crew trusted him completely. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks worked at the weapons station. She was smart and quick to act. Chief Engineer Sam Carter took care of the ship's engines. He had worked with Morrison for 12 years and knew every sound the ship made. The Defiant was not a big ship. It carried only 30 crew members. They were far from Earth, watching for trouble in a place called the Vega sector. This area of space belonged to nobody, but both humans and aliens wanted it. 3 months ago, strange ships had appeared in human space. These ships belonged to the Zephyrian Empire. The Zephyrians were tall, thin aliens with pale skin and large black eyes. They thought they were better than all other races in the galaxy. The Zephyrian ships were huge. Each one was twice as big as any human ship. Their weapons could destroy a city. Their shields could stop any attack. They had been taking over star systems for hundreds of years. The Zephyrians looked at humans like bugs. They thought humans were too young and stupid to matter. Humans had only been in space for 50 years. The Zephyrians had been traveling between stars for 1,000 years. On this day, something different happened. A message came to Captain Morrison's ship. The voice was cold and proud. "Human Captain, this is Admiral Caney of the Zephyrian Third Fleet. Your people have gone too far into civilized space. You do not belong here." Morrison looked at his crew. Communications Officer Pete Davis was a young man with nervous hands. He worked to keep the signal clear. Navigator Amy West was checking their position. She was good at her job but looked worried. Admiral Caney continued speaking. "We will give you one chance. Send us your best captain for single combat. Ship against ship. If you win, we will leave this sector. If we win, all humans must leave and never return. You will serve the Zephyrian Empire." The bridge went quiet. Everyone looked at Captain Morrison. They all knew this was a trap. The Zephyrian ships were much stronger than human ships. No human captain had ever fought one alone and lived. Pete Davis checked his screens. "Captain, I count 12 enemy ships out there, big ones. They have us surrounded." Amy West ran numbers on her computer. "Sir, if we try to run, we have maybe a 10% chance of getting away." Morrison walked to the center of the bridge. He was thinking hard. His crew waited for his answer. They knew that whatever he decided would change everything. The Zephyrian Admiral spoke again. "You have 1 minute to decide, human. Send us your answer." Morrison looked at each of his crew members. These people had followed him through dangerous missions before. They trusted him with their lives. He could not let them down. He walked to the communication station. "Admiral Caney, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Defiant. I accept your challenge." His crew looked shocked. Lisa Brooks started to speak, but Morrison held up his hand. "Single ship combat," Morrison continued. "Winner takes all. When do we fight?" There was silence from the Zephyrian ship. Then Admiral Caney laughed. It was a cold, mean sound. "Excellent, human. We choose Captain Vextar the Conqueror. He has never lost a battle in 40 years. His ship is the Dominator. It has destroyed over 200 enemy vessels." The communication ended. Morrison's crew stared at him. "Captain," Lisa said quietly, "their ship is 3 times bigger than ours. Their weapons are stronger. Their shields are better. How can we win?" Morrison smiled, but his eyes were serious. "Lisa, we are going to do something they do not expect. Humans are different from other races. We do things that seem crazy to everyone else." Sam Carter spoke up from the engine room through the intercom. "Captain, I can give you more power if you need it, but that ship out there is a monster. It has guns that can crack a moon in half." "I know, Sam," Morrison replied, "but we have something they do not have. We have the human spirit. We fight differently than anyone else in the galaxy." The Zephyrian ships began to move. They formed a large circle around the area where the battle would happen. Morrison could see the enemy flagship through his window. The Dominator was black and silver. with sharp edges and glowing lights. It looked like a weapon built to kill. Amy West reported their position. "Captain, they want us to fight in the space between those two old stars. No planets, no asteroids, nothing to hide behind." Morrison nodded. "Good. No tricks, no surprises. Just ship against ship." The crew prepared for battle. Each person had a job to do. They checked weapons, shields, and engines. They knew this might be their last day alive. Morrison sat in his captain's chair. He thought about Earth, about his family, about all the humans living in the colonies. If he lost this fight, they would all become slaves to the Zephyrian Empire. "All stations report ready, Captain," Lisa said. Morrison looked at the massive enemy ship waiting for them. It was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. "Take us in," he ordered. "Let's give them a fight they will never forget." Part 2. The engagement as the two ships squared off. Admiral Caney broadcast the battle to both fleets, confident in displaying human weakness to the galaxy. Captain Morrison studied his opponent through the viewscreen while Chief Weapons Officer Tony Miller ran final diagnostics on their modest armament. "Their shields are reading at 400% of our maximum output," reported Science Officer Karen Lee. "Their primary weapons have twice our range and 3 times our firepower." Morrison nodded grimly. "What they don't know is what makes us human, Karen. Sam, give me everything the engines have got. Lisa, plot an attack pattern that would be considered suicidal by any sane species." The Dominator opened fire first, sending devastating plasma bursts across space. Morrison ordered evasive maneuvers that pushed the Defiant beyond its design limits. The ship groaned under the stress as they accelerated at forces that would have crushed most alien species. Vextar pursued confidently, certain that a few more shots would end this pathetic display. He had fought dozens of species, and all followed predictable patterns of combat. The humans would either flee or attempt to match his firepower and fail. But Morrison wasn't following any established playbook. He ordered Medical Officer Dan Brooks to flood the ship with combat stimulants, pushing human reflexes beyond their normal limits. The crew began responding faster than physically possible for most species, their adrenaline-enhanced reactions turning desperation into deadly precision. "Tony, forget the shields," Morrison commanded. "Put everything into the main guns. One shot is all we'll get." The Defiant suddenly reversed course, accelerating directly toward the massive Zephyrian battlecruiser, at speeds no captain would attempt. Vextar fired repeatedly, but Morrison's erratic piloting made targeting impossible. At point-blank range, with the Dominator's guns too large to track such a small, fast target, Morrison gave the order. The two ships faced each other in empty space. Captain Morrison looked at the huge enemy ship through his window. The Dominator was black and silver, covered with weapon ports. It looked like death itself, floating in the darkness. Admiral Caney watched from his command ship. He was excited to show the galaxy how weak humans were. He ordered all Zephyrian ships to record the battle. Soon, every alien race would see humans lose badly. Captain Vexitar sat in his command chair on the Dominator. He was tall and thin like all Zephyrians. His skin was pale white and his eyes were completely black. He had fought many battles and won them all. Today would be easy. "Human ship is much smaller than expected," said his weapons officer. "This will not take long." Vextar smiled. "Good. The galaxy will learn that humans are nothing special." On the Defiant, Morrison's crew worked fast. Science Officer Karen Lee checked the enemy ship with her sensors. What she found made her heart sink. "Captain," she said with worry in her voice, "their shields are 4 times stronger than ours. Their weapons have twice the range and 3 times the power. They can shoot us before we can shoot them." Chief Weapons Officer Tony Miller looked at his controls. He was a big man with strong hands, but now he looked small. "Sir, our biggest guns are like toys compared to theirs." Morrison walked around the bridge. His crew watched him think. They all knew the situation was hopeless, but they also knew their captain never gave up. "Listen to me," Morrison said quietly. "The Zephyrians think they know everything about fighting. They have studied, every alien race in the galaxy, but they do not know humans. We do things differently. Lisa Brooks looked confused. How differently, Captain? Morrison's eyes became hard. Other races fight to win. We fight like we have nothing left to lose. Sam, give me all the power the engines can make. I do not care if it breaks the ship. Sam Carter's voice came from the engine room. Captain, if I push the engines too hard, we might explode. Do it anyway, Morrison ordered. The enemy ship moved first. Captain Vextar fired his main weapons. Bright blue energy beams shot across space toward the small human ship. The beams were so powerful they could destroy a building with one hit. Morrison grabbed his chair as the ship shook. Amy, turn us hard left. Now! Navigator Amy West pushed. Buttons fast. The Defiant spun away from the deadly beams. The energy missed by only a few meters. They are too slow to hit a fast ship, Morrison said with a smile. Tony, fire our guns at their left side. The Defiant shot back. Their weapons were small, but they hit the target. The beam struck the Dominator's shields and made bright flashes, but the enemy shields held strong. Vextar laughed on his bridge. The humans shoot like children playing with toys. Fire again. End this quickly. More blue beams shot toward the Defiant. This time, Morrison made the ship dive down and spin sideways. The crew held on tight as the ship moved in ways it was never meant to move. Warning, Amy called out. We are pushing the ship past safe limits. Keep pushing, Morrison shouted back. The Zephyrian captain became angry. These humans were moving too fast. His big guns could not target them easily, but he had many weapons. He would fill space with deadly beams. Fire all weapons, Vextar ordered. I want that ship destroyed. 20 weapon ports opened on the Dominator. Blue energy filled the space around the Defiant. Morrison spun his ship between the beams like a dancer avoiding raindrops. But the enemy had too many guns. One beam hit the Defiant's rear section. The ship shook hard and lights went out on the bridge. Hull damage on deck 3, Sam reported. We cannot take many more hits like that. Morrison made a decision that shocked his crew. Turn us around. We are going straight at them. Sir, Lisa could not believe what she heard. That is suicide. Maybe, Morrison said, but it is also something they will not expect. Medical Officer Dan Brooks, give everyone combat drugs. I want our bodies working faster than normal. Dan Brooks was worried. Captain, those drugs are dangerous. They can hurt people. Do it, Morrison ordered. We need every advantage we can. Get. Dan pushed buttons on his medical station. Special chemicals went into the air all through the ship. The crew began to feel different. Their hearts beat faster. Their hands moved quicker. Their minds worked at super speed. The Defiant turned and flew directly at the huge enemy ship. Morrison pushed the engines to maximum power. The ship screamed through space faster than it had ever gone before. Vextar watched in shock. What are they doing? No captain would fly straight at us. His weapons officer tried to shoot the fast-moving human ship, but the Defiant was moving too quickly and changing direction too often. The big guns could not turn fast enough to follow it. Impossible, Vextar shouted. No race fights like this. They are insane. Morrison smiled as his ship raced toward the enemy. Tony, put all power into our main gun. Take power from shields, life support, everything. We get one shot at this. Captain, if we do that and miss, we are dead, Tony said. Morrison looked at the growing enemy ship in front of them. Then we better not miss. The Defiant raced toward the massive enemy ship like a bullet. Captain Morrison held his breath as space rushed past them. The Dominator grew bigger and bigger in front of them. Its weapons tried to track the small, fast human ship but could not move quickly enough. Captain Vextar panicked on his bridge. His huge guns were built to fight big ships far away. They were not made to hit small, fast targets up close. The human ship was moving too fast and too close for his weapons to follow. Shields up, Vextar shouted. Prepare for impact. But Morrison was not planning to crash into the enemy ship. He had a different plan. A crazy plan that only humans would try. Tony, are our guns ready? Morrison asked without taking his eyes off the target. All power is in the main weapon, Captain, Tony replied. His hands shook as he prepared to fire. But we only have enough energy for one shot. One shot is all we need. Morrison said calmly. The Defiant flew so close to the Dominator that the crews could see each other through the windows. The human ship was tiny compared to the alien battleship. It looked like a mouse attacking an elephant. Morrison studied the enemy ship as they flew past it. He was looking for something specific. All ships had weak spots. Even the strongest shields had places where they were not perfect. There, he pointed at a section near the enemy's main engines. Karen, scan that area. What do you see? Science Officer Karen Lee worked fast on her computers. The combat drugs in her system made her mind work super fast. Numbers and data flashed across her screen. Captain, there is a small gap in their shield pattern. It is only 2 meters wide. If we hit it exactly right, we might get through. Morrison smiled. 2 meters. That is all we need. The Defiant spun around and flew back toward the enemy ship. This time Morrison approached from a different angle. The huge ship tried to turn to face them, but it was too slow and heavy to move quickly. Admiral Caney watched from his command ship. His hands shook as he saw what the humans were doing. This is impossible. No species fights like this. They are going to get themselves killed. But other alien captains watching the battle began to understand. The humans were not trying to match the enemy's power. They were using speed, skill, and pure courage to find a way to win. On the Defiant, the crew prepared for their one chance. Chief Engineer Sam Carter pushed the engines beyond their limits. Warning lights flashed red all over the ship. The engines were so hot they might explode at any moment. Sam, how long can the engines last? Morrison asked. Maybe 30 seconds. Before they blow up, Sam replied. After that, we are dead in space. 30 seconds is enough, Morrison said. Lisa, calculate the exact angle we need to hit that weak spot. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks worked on her computer. She had to account for the movement of both ships, the angle of attack, and the exact timing of their shot. One small mistake, and they would miss. Got it, Captain, she said. But we have to fire at exactly the right moment. If we are even 1 second off, we miss. Morrison flew the ship closer to the enemy. The Dominator's smaller guns tried to hit them, but the Defiant was moving too fast. Energy beams filled the space around them, but Morrison flew between them like he had done this 1,000 times before. The combat drugs made everything seem to happen in slow motion. Morrison could see every detail of the enemy ship. He could predict where their weapons would fire next. His crew worked together like they shared one mind. Distance to target? Morrison asked. 5,000 meters, Amy reported. 4,000, 3,000. The enemy ship filled their entire view now. It was so big it blocked out the stars. The Defiant looked like a tiny bug flying around a giant monster. 2,000 meters, Amy continued. 1,000. Now, Tony, fire everything. Morrison shouted. Tony pressed the firing button. All the power in the ship flowed into their main weapon. The lights went out, the engines stopped, even the air recycling system shut down. Everything the ship had was put into one single shot. A bright, white beam shot from the Defiant's main gun. It was not as big as the enemy's weapons, but it was focused and precise. The beam struck the exact spot that Karen had found, the tiny gap in the enemy's shields. For a moment, nothing happened. The beam seemed too small to hurt such a massive ship. Captain Vexistar started to laugh on his bridge. Then the impossible happened. The human weapon punched through the gap in the shields and hit the enemy ship's main power system. Explosions began inside the Dominator. The lights went out section by section. The engines shut down. The weapon stopped working. Impossible! Vextar screamed as his ship began to break apart. Our shields are perfect. Nothing can get through. But the humans had found the one tiny flaw that no other race had ever noticed. They had used their small size, incredible speed, and perfect timing to do what seemed impossible. The Dominator's main reactor began to overload. Captain Vextar realized his ship was going to explode. He ordered his crew to abandon ship immediately. All hands to escape pods, he shouted. The ship is lost. Hundreds of small pods shot out from the dying battleship. The Zephyrian crew escaped, just as their mighty ship exploded in a ball of fire and light. The explosion was so bright it lit up the entire battle area. When the light faded, nothing was left of the Dominator except floating pieces of metal. The Defiant drifted nearby, its engines dead and its power gone. But the small human ship was still in one piece. Captain Morrison and his crew had done the impossible. They had defeated an enemy 3 times their size and 10 times their strength. On his command ship, Admiral Caney stared at the empty space where his finest battleship had been. His hands shook with fear and shock. "How?" he whispered. "How did they do that?" Morrison's voice came over the communication system. It was weak because the Defiant had almost no power left, but every ship in the area could hear it clearly. "Admiral Caney, your challenge has been met and defeated. Your captain Vexitar fought bravely, but he lost. According to your own rules, the Zephyrian Empire must leave this sector of space immediately." The alien admiral had no choice. He had made the challenge himself. He had promised to leave if the humans won. Now the entire galaxy was watching to see if he would keep his word. Admiral Caney's voice was quiet and defeated when he finally replied. The Zephyrian Third Fleet will withdraw from this sector. The challenge is complete." Captain Morrison smiled on his dark bridge. His crew cheered weakly. They were too tired to celebrate loudly. They had saved humanity and won respect for their entire species. But Morrison knew this was just the beginning. Word of this battle would spread across the galaxy. Every alien race would hear about the day humans did the impossible. The Zephyrian fleet moved away from the battle area slowly. Their big ships looked different now. Not scary anymore, but confused and beaten. Admiral Caney could not believe what had happened. His best captain was gone. His strongest ship was destroyed. A small human vessel had done the impossible. On the Defiant, Captain Morrison sat in his chair and watched the enemy ships leave. His crew worked to fix their damaged ship. Chief Engineer Sam Carter crawled through broken passages, fixing wires and pipes. The engines were badly hurt, but they still worked. "Captain," Sam called from the engine room, "we can fly, but not very fast. It will take us 3 days to get home." Morrison nodded. "That is fine, Sam. We have time now." Medical Officer Dan Brooks moved around the ship, helping hurt crew members. Many people had cuts and bruises from the wild flying during the battle. But everyone was alive. That was what mattered most. "How is everyone, Dan?" Morrison asked. "Tired but happy, Captain," Dan replied with a smile. "Lisa has a bad cut on her head and Tony hurt his arm. But they will be okay. We all will." Communications Officer Pete Davis was busy at his station. Messages were coming in from everywhere. Human ships, alien ships, and space stations all wanted to know what had happened. "Captain, everyone is talking about our fight," Pete said excitedly. "The news is spreading across the galaxy very fast." Morrison was not surprised. A battle like this would be remembered for a long time. "What are they saying, Pete?" "The aliens cannot believe we won. They keep asking how we did it. Some of them sound scared." Navigator Amy West checked their position. "Sir, we are getting messages from Earth Command. They want a full report as soon as possible." Morrison stood up and walked around his bridge. His crew looked at him with respect and pride. They had done something amazing together. They had changed history. 3 days later, the Defiant arrived at Earth's main space station. Hundreds of ships were waiting for them. News reporters, military officers, and government officials all wanted to meet the crew who had beaten the mighty Zephyrian Empire. Fleet Admiral Robert Hayes met Captain Morrison at the docking bay. He was an old man with white hair and kind eyes. He had been Morrison's teacher many years ago. "Jake," Admiral Hayes said as he shook Morrison's hand, "the whole galaxy is talking about what you did. How did you know that crazy plan would work?" Morrison smiled tiredly. "I did not know, sir. But humans are good at doing things that seem impossible. We do not give up even when everything looks hopeless." Admiral Hayes led Morrison to a meeting room. Inside were the most important people in human government. They all wanted to understand how one small ship had defeated the enemy's best battleship. "Captain Morrison," said President Ellen Carter, "your victory has changed everything. Alien races that ignored us before are now asking for meetings. They want to be our friends." Morrison sat down and thought about this. That is good, ma'am. But we must be careful. Some aliens might want to be friends because they are scared of us now. The president nodded. What do you think we should do? We should be fair but strong, Morrison replied. We did not start this fight, but we finished it. Other races need to know that humans will defend themselves. Over the next few weeks, amazing things happened. The Galactic Council, which had never cared about humans before, invited Earth to send representatives. Alien races lined up to make trade deals and peace treaties with humanity. The Zephyrian Empire was the most shocked of all. Emperor Zarthal himself sent a message to Earth. He wanted to make a peace agreement immediately. We have great respect for human fighting skills, the Emperor's message said. The Zephyrian Empire wishes to be friends with such brave warriors. Morrison was promoted to admiral. His crew members all got better jobs and more money. But more importantly, they became heroes to every human in the galaxy. Science officer Karen Lee became famous for her research on human fighting abilities. She wrote papers that alien military schools used to teach their students. Other races tried to copy human tactics, but they could not do it the same way. Chief Engineer Sam Carter was put in charge of building new human ships. He designed vessels that were faster and more flexible than before. The new ships could do things that seemed impossible, just like the Defiant had done. Chief Weapons Officer Tony Miller became an instructor at the Human Space Academy. He taught young officers how to think creatively in battle. His most important lesson was, sometimes the craziest plan is the only one that works. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Brooks got her own ship to command. She used the same fighting style that Morrison had taught her. Her ship became famous for winning battles against much stronger enemies. 6 months after the battle, Captain Morrison, now Admiral Morrison, stood on the bridge of a new ship. It was bigger and stronger than the Defiant, but he missed his old ship. The Defiant was in a museum now where people could see the ship that had changed galactic history. A young officer approached Morrison. Admiral, we are getting reports of trouble in the Centauri sector. An alien race called the Vorthan Collective is attacking human colonies. Morrison smiled. The Vorthans had obviously not heard about what happened to the Zephyrians. Prepare the fleet, Lieutenant. It sounds like someone needs to learn about human fighting spirit. The officer looked confused. Sir, the Vorthans have 50 ships. We only have 12. Morrison's smile grew bigger. Perfect. Those are good odds for humans. We work better when things look impossible. As Morrison's fleet flew toward the new battle, something interesting happened in space. Other alien races that had been neutral before decided to help the humans. They had seen what happened to the Zephyrians and did not want to be enemies with such dangerous fighters. The Vorthans found themselves facing not just human ships, but also vessels from 6 different alien races. The battle was over before it really started. The Vorthans surrendered immediately. Word spread even faster this time. Across the galaxy, alien leaders told their military commanders the same thing. Do not fight the humans. They are too dangerous. Make friends with them instead. Morrison became the most famous human in the galaxy. But he always remembered what made the victory possible. It was not just his skill or his ship's weapons. It was the human ability to do things that seemed crazy to everyone else. In his speech at the Space Academy graduation ceremony, Morrison told the new officers, "Other races fight to win. We fight like we have already lost everything and have nothing left to lose. That is why we win battles that cannot be won. That is why the galaxy respects us now." The young officers cheered. They understood. Humans were different from all other races. They did not just want to survive, they wanted to do the impossible. And in the cold darkness of space, other alien empires heard about Earth's newest heroes. They made a smart decision. Instead of challenging the humans, they chose to become their allies. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans might be young and their technology might not be the best, but their courage and their refusal to give up made them the most dangerous fighters in known space. Morrison often said to his friends, "We did not start as the strongest race in the galaxy, but we became the most respected one. Sometimes that is even better."